Perspectives. We are knitting again. What a surprise.
El surprise!
I'm Anahí.
Carine.
I'm Allie.
And you are watching Purl Perspectives. This is a podcast where we come together as three real-life friends.
Actually, though.
And discuss what's going on in our lives, what's inspiring us, and what we have on the needles. So...
I couldn't help it.
What's going on?
You were like, oh, real-life friends. And I was like, yeah, no.
How dare you?
I was making faces. No, I actually really do like you.
We actually do
Only
like each
mildly
other.
begrudging.
If you couldn't tell, we are actual real life friends.
Yes. Coming up on 5 years now, actually.
Yeah.
Oh
almost.
my god.
Almost.
Yeah, because, Carine, you started going to Knit Night just a little bit before I did. But I moved back to Ottawa at the end of September 2019.
Yeah.
And I think my first Knit Night was like a week or so after I arrived. So let's say beginning of October.
I remember your first Knit Night very vividly.
Really? Why?
Because
what did I do? Did I
you
get egg on my
sat
face?
next to me and we were just like chatting along and you introduced yourself and you were like, oh, I gotta go to my other job after that. Later I found that it was a haunted walk.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm giving too much away. Sorry.
I don't work there anymore. It's fine.
That you were going to go to your other job, so you had to leave early. And then you started talking about what you did for work. And you said, I'm a conservator. Not a conservative. A conservator.
I do this a lot.
And I really appreciated you making that clarification.
For the record, I'm super lefty.
What the heck is a conservator? And I thought it was really funny that you had to like make that clarification.
Okay. No, but I got into this conversation once with somebody when I was in grad school because I was studying in the UK, and it was just like our local pub, and I was talking to somebody who was I was at a friend's birthday party, and I was talking to somebody who I didn't know that he'd gone to school with, and he was like, "Oh, are you a conservative as well?" And I'm like, thinking this person just had the title wrong.
Right.
Seeing as he knew our mutual friend, I was like, oh, you know what Will does, it's fine. And then we kept talking for like 15, 20 minutes before I realized he thought I was actually in politics. That I was a Tory.
Oh, no.
And I had to pause after and be like, wait, hold on a second, just for clarification's sake, do you think that I work in politics or that I work in heritage? And he was like, well, you're a conservative, so politics, right? And I was like, no.
Oh, no, honey, I'm brown.
Conservator. So from that day forward, I have had to make the distinction that I'm a conservator, aka an object doctor, working in heritage. Not a conservative, not in politics, not in life. In any way, shape, or form.
Not in life, yeah. As you can tell by the tattoos and the potty mouth.
Yes, such a potty mouth. Oh my gosh,
lefty.
my mom is very much like, I'll say something, and one of my favorite curses that is not safe for YouTube is fuck nuggets.
Oh, that's so fun. And
I spent the night at my mom's place earlier this week, and I stubbed my toe going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and she's a super light sleeper. And I stubbed my toe on the bathroom doorway and I went, fuck nuggets, just like on reaction. And from her room, I just hear this grumble of language. It was like 11 p.m. at night and I was like, sorry to wake you, go back to bed.
That's hilarious.
She doesn't like it when I swear. It's really cute.
Sorry to bug you, but could you pass my project?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of important for you to be making something.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of the basis of our whole thing over here.
If you're not knitting, what are you doing here? No.
I'm actually not knitting.
Crocheting.
That's true.
Yeah,
this is a change.
Am I going to be shunned for crocheting?
One of these days, I'm going to bring cross stitch just to change up the game.
Yeah.
Or you know what?
Just to get the masses
some
going.
hand sewing or something.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Can you hear those cicadas? Because we can. It's a bumper cicada year.
I actually quite enjoy the sound of cicadas.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I do
Early
until
in the
I
morning.
see them. When you see them and they're like this big, whereas in space it's like, yeah. And the computer's over there, not directly under the camera, which is probably why we may look weird looking that way.
We're going to try to look at the camera.
When you see a cicada and it's like a good, palm's length, a good like 5 inches long, and you're not expecting it. Like there was one earlier this week, it was right next to the buzzer to get us into the building that I work in. We have to tap in, and it was right next to that tap thing, and it scared the bejesus out of me because it was like 8 a.m., I was tired, I was cranky, I hadn't had any iced coffee yet, and I just see this giant freaking thing screaming its lungs out, and I Yeah, I almost turned around and went home. I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
That's about enough of that for today.
We're good. It's fine. Don't need
But
this.
I was gonna say, speaking of sewing, we've been sewing a little bit.
We have been.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
been.
Well, actually, we went to a little sewing workshop. Well, workshop's not really a workshop.
Sort of. Like a supported sewing?
Yeah, like you bring your own project, you work on it, but you're in a space where you can use
There's like a
sewing machine. You can use their equipment essentially,
cutting table,
right?
and there's somebody there who is an instructor
Who can like
will
kind of
support
like
you and help
guide
if
you a
have
little
any
bit.
issues, which was good because I had many.
Yeah, and it was nice because I definitely needed it. Although I was coming back from a long weekend away, and
You were fried.
I was so tired.
You were fried.
We literally came back from the cottage. 15 minutes later, I was back in the car to pick her up to go to that sewing event. So when I got there, I was like, I don't know how much is gonna get done today. But actually, it wasn't so bad. Like I got, I did the 2 French seams. So now I understand how to do French seam.
Just making a skirt.
You're making the estuary.
Done. Yes, the estuary skirt. It's not well done, but
That's okay.
It's done.
I love that.
Functional.
It's functional. Like the only
Functional.
thing I'm missing now is I have to do the waistband, and I have to hem the
Oh, that's easy peasy.
that's it, right?
Yeah.
But like for me, it's still a little because I've never so the front of the skirt. I gotta do some gathering, which I've never done before. I know it's not super complicated, but when it's something you've never done before, it's a little like scary.
It is.
So
And it was
I don't know.
Also coming toward the end, it was a 3-hour session from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., which Fabrications, which was the shop where we did this, they host, I think it's the last Monday of every month they host this supported sew-in.
We love
and the person who was kind of there as like our touchstone, our like fearless leaders, I suppose you could say, our helpmate, Vicky, she was saying at around 8:30, that's the time where you need to like tap out. Yeah. Because it gets to that point where you've been working at a project for 2.5 hours, your brain is kind of frazzled, you're coming up to the end of the time, and you're going to start making mistakes.
And it's true, because I did actually stop around 8:15, I want to say.
And I made a mistake at 8:30, so...
Yeah. I stopped at 8:15 because I just finished the seams, and I didn't want to get into... like the gathering of the skirt. I was like, this is too much like for my brain.
Yeah,
so I
just
stopped.
Do it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then I ended up like just like walking around the shop and looking at the yarn they have and the sewing patterns.
Yeah. So there's an instructor there that if you get stuck, they will help you.
Yeah, which was good because I decided I was going to push past that 8:30 deadline because I was working. I had spent the first like hour and maybe 15 minutes cutting out my pattern because I had a lot of linen. I'm making a dress and I just don't have the space in my apartment nor the functioning knees to have me kneeling on the ground for an extended period of time to cut it all out. So I used their cutting table. Then I started sewing the pieces and I wanted to finish the neckline before we left for the night. And so I kind of pushed past that 8:30 deadline, but I really shouldn't have because I did it too quickly and too sloppily, and I'm going to have to go back a couple steps and take out some of the stitching I did and redo it, which is fine because when I did it and I realized I was like, this is not how it's supposed to look, I went to Vicky and I was like, what did I do wrong? And she was like, okay, you have to take out this is what happened, did you check this while you were doing that, did you press it this way? And I was like, I did not do any of the things you just told me I should do. And she's like, okay.
Well, the one thing that I remember her saying that I was surprised to learn was that you said you pressed the pieces, and she says you should not press before.
Yeah.
So what? I was like, oh!
Yeah. So there's the way the
I've been pressing this whole time.
Well, no. You can't.
Individual
It was
pieces.
It was just for the way the neckline is done.
Yeah.
So what happens is you have the exterior piece and the lining piece. I don't want to give too much away of the pattern because it is.
No, that's a pretty common practice. Don't worry.
But you have the lining piece and you have the interior piece. And then you have the front and the back, so they're seamed together at the shoulders.
Okay.
You have the lining piece and the exterior piece. And then you fold them, like, you sew them down with their right sides facing so that you can secure the neckline together.
Yeah.
But then you have to turn it inside out so that the right sides are outside and the wrong sides are facing.
Right.
And then what you do is you press the seam down and then you sew it into the lining. So that
so you're understitching.
You're understitching, exactly. However, Vicky gave me a really good piece of advice because I had pressed it and then just assumed that I pressed it well enough that when I was putting this giant hunk of fabric through the like 4 inches of space of my sewing machine,
Yeah.
that it wouldn't impact that seam the way that it lay flat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up with like it kind of bubbling and going the wrong direction. And so there were places where I didn't actually catch that pressed seam, and it's loose and kind of flapping around inside. And so Vicky was saying, she's like, don't press it. Feed it in yourself, so then that way you can pull it towards the side it's supposed to be on. You can guarantee that it's been caught. And then as well, you're also going, it forces you to go slower so that you don't end up, because part of it too was that I was going too fast because it was like 8:30 and I was like, I just want to get it done. And so I also didn't clip my seams. There's multiple things that I did wrong, but that's the point of this kind of workshop, is that I then was like, okay, I did this wrong. How do I fix it? She told me the tools and the ways to fix it. And now I'm hoping tomorrow that, because tomorrow's a holiday by the way, this is the 4th of August. So tomorrow is a civic holiday. We have the day off on Monday. Yeah. And I'm hoping tomorrow I can pull out all of those seams and then actually sew that neckline in properly and like repress everything flat so that I don't have that like awkward bubbling again.
Yeah. But again, like this is kind of part of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
When
you have to learn.
When you're like, when you start, it's the same thing as when you started knitting, right? Like you make mistakes, you like sometimes you frog or like rip things for 3-4 times in a row because you make a mistake, or you just live with the mistake. There's that too, depending on what mistake I make, and that's both for sewing and knitting. I've noticed that there's mistakes that I'm like, if I make a mistake really early on, I will destroy everything and restart over. But if there's a point. Like a point of no return for me, where if I've gone to that, then it doesn't matter if I make a mistake afterwards. I will live with it. If I can't, for some reason, if I can't fix it, and that's in sewing or knitting or whatever, there's a point of no return. I'm like, this is not worth frogging for me.
I love that there are spaces around our city where we can go and safely make mistakes.
Yes. 100%.
Not about everything, but I find it really reassuring to just be around other people that know better than I do.
Yeah.
So that if I have a question, they can help me with their, their wisdom honed from multiple years.
Yes.
So that's so nice that they have this workshop where like you don't have to like assign yourself a project that you don't necessarily like. You can bring the own thing that you want to make, and someone will walk you through it.
And when you think about it, this is what Thursday's knit night is.
Yeah.
It's a safe space for people to learn to knit. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference is it's not a brick and mortar place. It's we move around.
We float.
We do float.
We like
quite
to
a
float.
bit.
But it's the same principle where
to
where you come to the event not necessarily knowing what you're doing, or with something that you may not necessarily understand you're doing, maybe you're making a mistake or whatever, and then like we will help you, or somebody there with more experience will help you.
I'm sorry, I want to keep talking about this, but I'm just
I meant to do this fit check
flabbergasted
before this morning, but I didn't. I stayed in bed reading.
It looks
really
so
good.
I'm just
good.
Okay, so right now I think I'm at about 8 inches of length, and the pattern calls for almost 12 of the body, and I'm a little bit concerned because I can already tell that this is smaller than the gauge. I actually don't care that that's the case. I prefer a fitted garment.
It looks really good on you.
It does.
But I'm just concerned about, because I'm a human with an apron belly, so there's more of the front of me than there is of the back of me, and I'm just curious as to whether I should put in some darts on the side to give me a little bit more fabric around the front, because the one thing I hate more than anything is ribbing that puckers in. And I'm not gonna go down a needle size for the ribbing. I just like you're supposed to do with the collar in here. I'm not. I'm gonna keep the ribbing same size as the body. That's what I always do. That's how I prevent puckering.
How long do you plan on making this?
That's the thing. Part of me is like, if I do the full 12 inches, that'll hit me. If this is 8, probably another 4. So probably somewhere around like here.
Okay.
Which is like, this is the top of my Spanx.
Right.
Well, they're not Spanx. They're because
I
don't believe in sucking myself in. They're the top of my bike shorts that are right here. And so it's right at the top of my belly where it starts to go. Where I
a
start
little
to
bit like outwards.
Pear out. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, do I just put in a couple toward the hem? Or do I just say, no, knit the body, knit the ribbing, see how I feel, and then pull it out if I don't like it?
Can I offer a suggestion?
Please. I've been like struggling on what I want to do.
What if you knit it as it is, but then you knit the ribbing flat front, flat back with 2 slits?
Yeah, I think that's a very smart idea.
That's so smart.
Now, that does mean that you might have to make the ribbing a minimum of 2 inches.
That's fine.
It
That's
can't
fine.
just be 1 inch.
I love that, though. That tab look. That's...
Because then you can even add like an additional stitch on each side just to have the crossover go so it doesn't pull like on the bar in between, which I don't think is a look. But anyway, you add another couple stitches so you can cross them over at the seams and then knit the ribbing flat front. Maybe knit the knitting in the front just a tad longer. So that because you know it's gonna sit flat on your back, but it's gonna pull on your front. So if you knit the front ribbing like maybe an extra 2 rows longer, it's going to give the illusion of a flat edge.
See, this is why I talk to other people about these things, because it makes it easier. But I actually really can't see the computer. I am very much in need of glasses for this, but. Actually, that's really not a bad...
I'm telling you, this looks really nice.
Yeah. Because it's like, here is the line of my dress where the bodice stops and the waist, or the skirt starts, which is pretty much where I'm at now, but I want to go just a little further than that.
Yeah, because I was going to say that's about the length of the majority of your skirts.
Yeah,
and
I am very much an A-line gal.
The seams kind of end right here, about maybe like 4 inches below your bust.
This is the bottom of my bra is right here, which is like maybe less. If I roll this down all the way, it's about even with.
I think if you go to the bottom of your bra and then start the ribbing, you should be good.
Really, you think you don't think it's gonna be too short?
I mean,
it's gonna be cropped. Do I want this one to be cropped? Because I still have quite a bit of yarn left.
Do you want to wear it with over dresses, or do you want to wear it with pants?
As is.
I want to be able to wear it with both. I want this yarn to be
maybe go further.
Okay, maybe go further.
Because then what I would say is like, have it...
It's hot. Jesus. Who decided to put wool on in freaking 8 million degrees weather?
What I would say is have it end about an inch above your belly button.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's easy.
Right? You can measure that pretty simply. And then...
It's right here.
There you go.
Which is only like a couple of inches below.
Another 3 inches, I would say.
Yeah.
So don't go to 12, go to 11.
Yeah.
And then start your ribbing.
And I'm going to do it separated front and back. That's actually so smart. And I'm pretty sure I have enough, if I can find it in the bottom of this bag. Yeah, I definitely have enough left that I can...
Oh, 100%. That'll take you there for sure.
Front and back.
Yeah.
Whew, man.
It's looking so good, buddy.
These decisions.
It really is.
I've been kind of, the last few weeks, really focusing on getting my socks done that I have on the go right now, because that's the monthly subscription. I want to have those done within the month, and I only have the toe left on the second one, so I really want to get those done. But now I'm like, oh, there are yarny events coming up in the future. I want to have something to wear. Although if the weather is like this next week, then I definitely am not going to wear wool. Whoo, doggy, that would be a terrible idea. So on that note, we are recording this today because we plan on attending Twist Festival. So when you're watching this, we will be at Twist Festival, hopefully. Yeah. And if you've never been, it's a lovely fiber exhibition that happens in Saint-André-Avelin, Quebec.
Saint-André-d'Avelin, Quebec.
Saint-André-d'Avelin, Quebec.
Avelin.
Avelin.
It ends in an I-N.
J'ai aucune idée.
Avelin.
Anyway,
it's about a 45-minute drive from Gatineau.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a trek.
Avelin.
It's local to us. Avelin, yeah, that's what we said. Saint-André-d'Avelin.
Yeah, Saint-André-d'Avelin.
Mm-hmm. So if you've ever been to, what is that? There was a hotel... Montebello. It's very close to Montebello.
Yeah.
And it gathers together Canadian and international fiber producers, notions, gear, machinery,
Books,
a lot of books.
and pretty much everything. And they also have a sheepdog exhibition.
Yes,
where
it's so much fun.
That's really cool. So they do. It's well, I guess it'll be Sunday by the time the festival will be closing up by the time this goes live. But it is 3 days: the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is when they do all the classes. Saturday, Sunday is when the market's open, and it's just a really great little local festival. And what I really appreciate about it is because of where it's located, you get a lot of Quebec makers who we don't normally see in the National Capital Region because it is just a little bit further.
Yeah.
So it's nice that we can go to all of these different events and see different people. Shop different shops.
I just like it because it's like, as much as Knit City is wonderful, it's also very overwhelming. Twist is a little smaller, so it feels a bit more manageable, if that makes sense. It's still a place where I would spend a lot of money, but but it's a bit more like, it's less tiring. One day is perfect. You don't have to go for the whole weekend. You can see everything, and you don't have to feel like you have to go back like 3 times.
Yeah, because it's at the hockey arena, so it's a much smaller venue.
And there's a lot of outdoor area.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. It's great.
And last year, they had a signature beer made for them, limited edition. And it was really good, actually. I bought a 4-pack to bring home because I really liked the Twist Festival beer. It had sheep on the can.
Who was it? Was it Collective Arts?
I don't remember what the brewery was.
It was a local, Ottawa Valley brewery that had done it, and I really hope they do it again, be it the same flavor or not.
I really hope that they do, because it was like a highlight for me
that they had done.
So we're hoping to do that, and if we don't forget, we might bring you some footage there in the in-between week.
That would be really cool.
Thanks, Dad, for letting me use your car. Not that you're watching this at all, but thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Allie's dad.
We love you.
Official sponsor.
Official sponsor.
We should get him a sticker.
Oh my
god.
God.
Be an official sponsor of Purl Perspectives.
I don't know if I've ever told him that I've definitely told him we do the podcast, but I don't think I've ever shown him footage. So I think he's like, this is just a fun thing that we do that he doesn't really know about, but knows about.
If they do have the beer this year.
He doesn't drink beer. He likes wine.
Oh, okay. So he's like me.
He's not a beer drinker. He's not a fan. But if they have a signature wine, Twist. Hey. No. I'm treating him to dinner the night before, and then I will probably pick up some yarn while we're there so that I can make him some socks.
That's actually my mission at Twist, is to find Aran white yarn for a sweater that I'm making for my partner.
Which one?
It's one of the Kika's
Kutova Kika?
Kika,
it's one of her
Veronica Lindbergh
patterns that she has in the Knit This book. I forgot the name, but essentially it has a yoke that's like all skulls. It looks really nice.
That's so
and it
fun.
looks very simple. It's not super complicated, and more importantly, it's not brioche. So it's literally just
already
the whole
step up
because you have learned your lesson.
Yes, I have.
If your partner is over 6 foot, do not brioche. Do not try to make him brioche all over brioche pattern.
I think it's Stephen West who has this pattern. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Stephen West. He's got a brioche yoke pattern sweater where the yoke is done with 2-color brioche in rings around. I'm pretty sure it's Stephen West. I could be wrong. I'll verify this later. But yeah, it's like 3 or 4 rows of brioche 2x2 brioche corrugated ribbing all the way around, but the rest of the body is done in stockinette.
Okay.
So you could get, if you wanted to, you could knit him another brioche sweater, just maybe not an all over brioche.
Yeah, exactly. But let's stick with the stockinette for now, for this time, because I have so many things to knit for Christmas.
Same.
So, and it's all like, none of these are for me. So
I'm so in awe of both of you to be knitting for other people so selflessly.
But
for
Christmas.
Yeah.
You've made sweaters and stuff for Bilbo, for Gerbo.
Yeah. I have, but
family.
for Christmas, I feel like a deadline really sucks the joy out of my craft.
For me, it's more like I'm it's a good motivator for sure. Like I just finished the first one, the honeycomb.
Yes, the first scarf.
Scarf is finished.
Oh, you should bring it.
No, because if for whatever reason the person who's going to receive it is watching this, then they're going to see it.
Y'all will see the scarf after the person receives it.
Well, we can do a.
Oh, that would be really fun. What if we did a little roundup of our knitted winter gifts?
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I can do that, and then we post it afterwards.
Yeah, like even if they're not for Christmas, even if they're just for like birthdays in the cold weather months, like one of my coworkers and then also somebody I went to university with are both expecting babies at the end of November, early December, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna knit some little, like that would be cute to have some like knitted gift, like have a chat about the things we gift.
That's so fun. I'm down for that.
I like that. I just started the next one, which I didn't bring because it is complicated. This is one of those where there's a chart and like I'm not at a point where I can put the chart down and know what I'm doing yet, because it's pretty and it's probably not one of those that I can do easily in front of the TV, or like I have to pay attention.
Well, that's why we have the stockinette projects for when we can't.
This is why I'm here doing this instead. But so 2 more sweaters to do. And then
you're also a monogamous maker.
Yes, I literally just like work.
I love that term, by the way.
Monogamous maker.
Yeah.
Although
ish, because I do have like one stockinette project usually that I do where I'm like either here or at knit night, but then depending on what the project is, I will bring it to knit night if I can work on it.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not as fast, but I don't tend to do more than like 3 projects at a time.
So I'm like
not so much monogamous as like
focused.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I like threesomes. 3 projects, right?
She's into triads.
Triads.
I think is the correct.
That's what I'm into. Like that's enough. Like 3 projects is probably my sweet spot. I feel like more, it's a little too much, and I get overwhelmed, and then I don't know which one to pick.
I don't know, Carine. You've said it now, and now it's canon. Carine likes threesomes.
knitted threesomes, not nothing else.
Keep digging that hole, babe. Keep digging that hole.
Oh man, I love that.
It's good. No, but I get that though, because even though I have like something like 11 whips, I think I'm only really actively working on 2-3 of them. I get that. Like there's one that's the on the go project and the one that's the couch project.
Exactly, right? Like the only thing for me, the difference is mostly I get to a point where either I can't start something new until I finish something because it annoys me or overwhelms me, or I get far enough in a project that my mind just says power through it, and then you start something else. So it's one of those two, right? It's either like that's what happened with the scarf. I was almost at the end, and my head was like, "You're not doing anything else until you're done with this one." And then it's like, even if I wanted to do another project, like my head wouldn't let me do it. I had to finish that one first, and then I had the right, if that makes sense, to start the new project, which is what I'm working on right now.
That's kind of how I feel about this one.
Your brain takes over and is like, you're gonna sit down and finish your
meal,
young lady.
Knitting conscious, like I don't know.
No dessert till you finish your vegetables.
Pretty much.
Except you like vegetables, so that works.
Love vegetables. Well, it depends on the vegetable. If it's Brussels sprouts, they can burn in hell.
No, I love Brussels sprouts.
I hate
Brussels sprouts with like caramelized onions and bacon bits.
That's how you get me to vomit.
A tray bake of Brussels sprouts and sweet potato with like maple syrup and pecans.
Amazing.
Incredible.
I've told the person who's helping me with my, because I'm seeing a dietitian, I said the only food that is not allowed ever on my plate is Brussels sprouts.
If you give me Brussels sprouts, I will fire
else. You. But if you give me Brussels sprouts, we're done. Like we are done.
No, I actually do love Brussels sprouts, and I remember hating them when I was a child. But then, Ali, you told me that there was like a resurgence of Brussels sprouts in the 90s.
So what happened
didn't work for me.
There is a food scientist whose name is escaping me right now who liked Brussels sprouts as a kid, but then as an adult didn't like Brussels sprouts, was like, there's got to be something happening here, did some research, realized the variety of Brussels sprouts that is predominantly planted in North America is a variety that was really bitter, and so went on a mission to determine what the heirloom variety is that has the best taste.
Okay.
And then from there, went on this like little crusade, I suppose you could say, to have the variety of Brussels sprouts that's farmed in North America switched. And it happened. It was slow. It took a little bit of time. So now the Brussels sprouts that we're eating are ones that are less bitter and less it's not fibrous, but like they're less chewy. Like they go down easier, I suppose you could say, from a texture level.
Yeah, and they don't smell like farts.
And they don't
It's
smell
still
like
the
farts.
devil's food. I don't care.
Now, I gotta say about this scientist,
Yes.
the self-confidence and self-love that you have to have for yourself to when you have something you don't like, determine that it is the thing that has changed and is
not
wrong.
you.
And not you. I'm not incorrect. These Brussels sprouts are not the same, and I shall get to the bottom of it. I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a honorable journey, as in like, I'm gonna fix this for all the world because I used to like it and I don't anymore.
Yep.
And I know I'm not wrong.
Yep. It just makes me wonder how many other varieties of vegetables that are being mass farmed.
Yeah, probably.
If we made a switch to a different version of them, like how big of a change that would cause to...
Well, just think about bananas, right? They're impossible to reproduce now because we've used the same
Yeah.
variety of banana by grafting and grafting
That's
and
true, we
grafting the
have.
same one to the point where now all bananas in the world are the same tree.
Yeah.
Like, not the same variety, the actual
cloned.
same tree. They're
cloned.
cloned from the same tree.
Yeah.
And so that made it so that bananas are now bigger and fleshier, but you cannot find the
Anything
seeds because
else,
they
yeah.
don't produce it
them.
anymore.
Yeah.
Much like crab apples, if you plant the seeds of apples, they don't give you an apple tree, they give you crab apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've selected the fruit
But this
so heavily that now they're unable to reproduce on
This
their
is
own.
actually one of the reasons why, in many instances, monoculture or that you know, like that, which is essentially cultivating cultivating the same crop or the same, like, this is why it's bad, because eventually that's it, that's all you have, right? It's selected food breeding, I don't know what you call it, but
selective farming.
yeah, and it's the same, like, that's one of the reasons why we are starting to see a bit of, like, you know, more people wanting to do their own little gardens or their own things, and a lot of people, when they do those, they actually go to, or the ones I know, they tend to go for, like, heirloom vegetables or
because
you know,
they're naturalized seeds.
Exactly. And they're not as, I mean, you can still go, like, you could buy the tomato at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then, cut it and then plant this. And you'd get
tomatoes.
Get tomatoes, but you're going to get the same variety. Versus if you go for heirloom, you're going to get different varieties. You're going to get different things. Sometimes you don't even know what you're getting. Right? And that's what I like about...
I didn't know that was the way that heirloom seeds worked.
Yeah. Like, so...
I ain't a gardener.
I love... Like, that's one of the reasons why I love gardening so much. Is because you kind of, like...
You don't know what you're gonna get.
I mean, you do. Because, like, when you get the seeds, you know what it is.
You know
Unless
that
it's,
they're
like,
tomatoes,
a various...
you just don't know what kind of tomatoes.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't. Depends on what the... Usually for tomatoes, you'll know. But, like, for flowers or for... like, sometimes they'll have, like, mixes. And you're like, well, whatever comes out, right?
Yeah.
And, because, like, for vegetables, you it's rare that you don't know, but it's more, you have much more variety. Like, I'm thinking, for example, West Coast Seeds has so many varieties of seeds and, like, of different types of vegetables. Like, tomatoes and greens. Like, there's 50,000 versions of, like, lettuce and kale that you didn't think existed. And essentially, depending on where you are in the world and what your climate is, some will grow better or bigger than others. But, like, we're starting to see a bit, I want to say a bit of a trend towards, like, people wanting to have their own garden. Even within the city, there are people who are doing, like, full-on gardens on their balcony where it's, like, vertical gardening.
Oh, yeah. I
love that.
I've seen the towers for sale.
Yeah, and there's some that are now, like, something that just started recently, that I started to see recently on social media is vertical gardening indoors. So it's, like, this big bookshelf. It almost looks like a bookshelf, but it's all, and it has, like, cases, and each case contains earth or water or whatever you need, and it's individual, like, it's made for each different plant. So you can, like, depending on, because every vegetable has a different, like, you know, how much water, how much sun, whatever. So all of this, like, each compartment, you can put a different vegetable in there, and you don't have to be outside. You can,
so it's a micro garden.
Yeah, it's actually pretty, like, it grows pretty big things. So you don't, like, it's because you know these exist for like herbs, but not necessarily for a whole garden.
Yeah.
So if you have the space, you put it in front of a window, or you get grow lights, and then you can have this like all year round, even in the winter.
Yeah. I really like that. I think that that's a step towards like sustainability.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're headed. It's kind of like that. What do you call it? What is it like? Steampunk, but like also green. Oh, what's that? There's
what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like this. Well, the worlds that they created in the Psalm for, where it's kind of like. There's a bit of that like technology and like advanced technology, but then there's also a return to earth with that new technology. So I know there's a word for it, but
Carine
I forgot what it is.
Speaking of the book, A Psalm for the Wild Built, we had a good conversation about it on the podcast.
Yeah. And like that world, that's kind of like this technology is giving me that vibe where it's like
the robots and the machines have stopped, and it's a return to more
traditional things, but you still have
there is technology, but it is respectful of nature.
Yeah. So that's exactly
it's like an eco first.
Oh, what is it called? I know there's a name for it.
While she looks this up, I would just like to take a second and say that none of us are food scientists.
No,
none of us are ecologists.
We just enjoy.
We just like to eat vegetables. Some like to grow vegetables. Not me. I hate gardening. But this is what we've learned out of our own personal research and curiosity. This is what we have come to understand by like following the news and things that are happening in society. So we are by no means perfect or 100%
Don't go taking advice from us.
These are just our personal observations on, having gardens in the city and what's happening to our food supply. Like, this is just our personal observations. Do not take us as experts. We are not.
And with that caveat.
Caveat done.
But I have seen a lot more like interest in home gardening and like plot gardening in communities. Yeah. And that's really admirable. But it makes me also think that there has to be a balance. There has to be a middle ground, right? Yeah. Because being able to grow your own food is a privilege. Yep. Because it requires you to have access to land or to resources. And in the case of these indoor growers, which are incredible, you need to have access to funds and space in your home to put them in. And so I don't know. I feel like there has to be a middle ground in which we aren't dependent individually to grow our own stuff, but we have micro communities, for example, that can take care of each other.
I have a friend / old coworker who she and her sister have converted the entirety of their backyard into a giant garden because they eventually want to get to a point where they have their own subsistence farm. But they're using this, like their current setup, as like the trial run. Okay. Because their goal is to grow enough food over the summer that they can feed themselves over the winter. And so every year they're able to push back that like we've run out of canned and prepared supplies to a little bit later.
That's so cool.
I feel like one year they made it to like end of February, early March.
Oh dang!
And they're both vegetarians. I think one of them might actually be vegan. I can't quite remember.
So their entire food supply.
They're almost the entirety of their food supply. Obviously, there's some things that you cannot grow in this
like
climate,
rice.
Like rice or legumes, like things like that. They're not always possible, but that's what they're doing. And I really have always admired this project that they're undertaking because they're like, we're not going to dive in like head first and try to do all of it on a huge plot of land. Yeah. They're like, we need to be able to care for the space that we have, and we need to be able to do it in a way that's sustainable for their lives and their jobs and everything else. So they've started out with like the backyard of their rental home, and when they've gotten to the point where like they can conceivably grow there and it's like it's sustainable for like them time-wise, then they'll like look into getting larger space. And it's like, that's the way to do it. Start small, work at it to the point where you feel comfortable doing it, and then get to larger and larger. That's what
me and my partner want to do. We actually want to start with chickens.
Nice. Like chickens are a gateway animal, let me tell you. Once you get a chicken, you need to get it a friend. Once you have 2 chickens, they make a chick.
We had this exact conversation on the last episode we streamed.
Oh, did we? Okay, we have a circular topic.
So, so the name, there's a few different names, but it looks like the 2 ones that keep coming back are either green punk or solar punk.
Never
which
heard
is
this
kind of like
before.
that mix of like steampunk, but then also more green technology and like, which I love.
I would
This
be
is the
so
life
over
I want in my
that.
life. Like this is the environment I want.
If you are an engineer / scientist / enthusiast and you are starting a green punk movement, let us know because we'll get all over that.
I'll throw money at it, but I'm not into gardening. So.
No, we can
That's
have
okay, we'll
you
do
do
it.
the inventory and the spinning and the knitting, you know.
The inside
Speaking
part.
of knitting, you're knitting on something
I am knitting on
Yes.
something.
after
Okay,
you
hold
tried
on.
it on.
After I tried it on. So I'm like 10 stitches away from taking it off that extra needle. But what I'm working on, I know that I've definitely shown on here before. It is the Tolsta Tea by Rebecca Clow. Her
Whoop,
handle
whoop,
on
toast along.
all the socials is the Crea Bea. And it is a shirt that Anahí and I started at around the same time. You finished yours.
I haven't finished mine.
Oh, I thought you did.
I have an interesting interim about that.
Okay, so
I went traveling and I thought I was going to finish it while I was traveling because it's so much waiting. It turns out I did not, in fact, have the correct needle topper in my bag. So I had 2 of the wrong size needles in the holder and 1 of the correct size needles. So I couldn't actually advance any of the ribbing. So I'm still at the ribbing
But
stage.
you could though. You could have the wrong size needle on your left hand and the right side needle, the right size needle on your right one, because all that matters is that your right hand needle where you're creating the new loop is correct. They can come off a smaller needle and it's fine.
No, because the difference is big to small.
Yeah, you can, if you only have one correct size needle tip, have that on your right hand, your working hand.
But what I mean is, I was changing from bigger needles to smaller needles.
Yeah.
So when I do that, the new stitches will be smaller than the needle on my left hand. So it would be a real
never mind.
struggle
Never mind,
to
never mind.
push them
You're
through.
right. Yeah.
Like I can definitely make one row.
Yeah.
And then
That's
I won't
how
be
to
able
that.
to put them on.
Never
You know
mind.
what I mean?
Never mind.
And so, anyway, that's the story of my Tolsta. But as soon as I find that other needle, which I will find, it's not lost.
Is it not in your little baggie of needle tips here?
Well, it might be. I just haven't had...
It's not, actually. There's only some stitch markers.
Well, I don't know why I keep that anyway. But you're working on it.
Yes, so I'm working on the Tolsta, as we saw a little earlier today. It is, I've done the sleeves, I've done the collar, I'm on the body,
really
and
nice.
I'm going to put on maybe another 3
That
inches
color.
of knitting. I had hoped to finish this by twist, but if the weather holds up as it currently is, I will definitely not be wearing 100% wool.
Yeah.
I love knitting, but I am not a masochist in that way. So I haven't started anything new in a really long time because I really want to clear off some of my needles. So I'm holding strong and I'm sticking to the projects that I already have on the go, and yeah, we're scooting slowly along.
I hope you take away from this podcast that we are not product makers.
No.
We are slow knitters and we are proud of it. And some of us have ADHD and we forget what we're making and we start something else.
That happens a lot, but yes.
What are you making?
It's the same as last week, I believe, or last time. It's
Last
the
stream,
run from Unwind Knitwear.
Rachel Eiley.
Yeah,
Eiley? Something like that.
It's I'm pretty much at
So
the
gorgeous.
it's all stockinette. It's really the one project I bring when I don't want to think while I'm knitting.
I love it because you're past the color work.
Yeah,
so you can just go and go.
when I do the sleeves, I'll have to do a bit of color work again, but not much. So yeah,
It's
that's what I'm
so
working on.
pretty. I know I've said this before, but it really makes me think of like if Elsa from Frozen was goth. I love it.
I
Which
just
is
love that
interesting
color
because
so
I
much.
never would have picked that up with the purple and the variegated goth
Yeah.
Elsa.
No.
Really? You would have
Yeah.
gone for black?
Well, no, I would have thought goth Elsa would have been like really deep navy, like more blues and
maybe,
purples.
Okay.
yeah.
Like this is almost giving me more Anna than Elsa.
Yeah.
No, for sure, because Anna does have
So
more
this is
purple
goth
in
Anna.
her.
Anna maybe.
Well, that could be it. But the fact that it has like what I interpret as snowflakes,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
they
oh,
I mean, it could still be her,
Oh,
the
oh.
sister, like wearing it for in the name in honor of her sister.
oh, I love it. Yeah.
What are you working on?
This is my souvenir project. Like I said, I was traveling, and I treated myself to a couple balls of 100% cotton yarn.
Such a beautiful color.
It is quite nice and it's very soft. And could you grab that other color? Thank you. And so I saw this creator on Instagram talking about, her name's Rachel Renee. And she was talking about dressing yourself not in analogous colors, as we've been taught, but in complementary colors, which are, I learned, the ones that are opposite each other on the color wheel. And the one that I was really drawn to was the opposite of yellow and purple.
Yeah. Which is what I'm doing.
A little bit here, yeah. And so I thought that these two colors would contrast each other really well.
They do look so good together.
So I've started one of the projects that we showcased in our previous video, when we were talking about summer knits, the Khaled shirt. So I'm gonna make the solid panels in the yellow and the lace panels in the lavender color.
Nice.
And so this is
sort of like the beginning. Okay, so it's over
So
here.
what they have you do is make a panel that goes over your shoulder from here to where you want the sleeve to end, and then you seam it. Then you make another panel from here until you want the sleeve to end, and you seam the back of them, and the front I will close with buttons. Then you add the color, and you got yourself a little color button up.
Nice.
So I'm really excited.
That's awesome.
I'll be honest, I have started this project probably 4 times, including this. I've used different hooks, I've used different yarn, and it just hadn't advanced on my hook as much as I'm getting now.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is I was making the wrong choices. I wasn't liking the drape, I wasn't liking the feel, I wasn't liking the color as much as I wanted it to.
Had you been starting it with like a wool before as opposed to a plant fiber?
Yeah, I had been. It wasn't a wool. It was it was called Wool Like from Loops and Threads, which is a commercial yarn made to feel.
Yeah, it's an acrylic wool blend, I think.
It's an acrylic wool blend, but it's made to feel like bouncy like a wool. The problem I was having is that it was a correct size, but it was way too soft. Way too bouncy. So when I was working on it, it didn't have the drape.
It didn't hold its shape.
It didn't hold its shape. It was kind of almost getting wrinkled. As I put it down and pick it up again, I was like, why does it look wrinkled? There are the cicadas again.
They have opinions on your
yarn
choices.
So I thought, usually mercerized cotton is a no-go for knitting, but in this case, I thought it would give me the loftiness that I want.
Okay, but to kind of tangent, why is mercerized cotton not good for knitting? I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Well, from what I have been exposed to, it's because once you mercerize the cotton, it loses all the natural strength. Not strength, stretch.
Yes, yeah.
That it has. And even though cotton is naturally not stretchy, but it makes it a lot smoother. So the reason why people do it is because it doesn't pill.
Yes.
After you've mercerized it, but
mercerizing is a form of processing.
It is a chemical processing called mercerization, and so it doesn't pill, which makes it a little shinier, but it also loses a little bit of its natural properties. So I was like, well, it's gonna be a little bit rougher. But once I touch this, I like the look of it, I like the color, I like the feel.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
I don't really care that it's mercerized, and it's working up to have a really nice drape, as you can see here.
Do you think you'll finish it before the end of the hot weather this year, or do you think it'll be a
I'm not intending to finish it before the end of the hot weather, because this is my souvenir project. This is the yarn that I bought.
Can I give you a challenge?
Yeah.
If we do decide to go on our hot weather spring trip this year, I would love to see you wearing it in February.
On holiday?
Yeah.
Okay, that seems really attainable.
Okay.
Yeah. I could probably do that.
By February?
Yeah.
Awesome.
February is a really good deadline.
Cool, because I think that would look...
You're already picturing it in your mind.
I don't think I can explain how excited I am just by the thought of you standing in front of a sunset wearing that color combo.
Right?
You and the sunset will be one with the beach and the waves behind you.
Yeah.
It is kind of like sunset-y, isn't
Like,
it?
I am picturing you with a big floppy hat and a giant pineapple beverage and your sunglasses, like, just looking completely unbothered in that shirt.
In
and I'm
an
like,
oversized crochet button-up.
like, like, the joy I am, like, my brain's exploding a little bit right now.
I love that I can do that.
I would love to see that finished by February and worn on our vacation.
I hereby accept the challenge to finish this before February.
All right.
We're going to convince you to come with us.
Yeah, this year should potentially be good.
Yeah. Anyway, souvenir yarn for a souvenir garment.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm.
It's such a great thing to do, is to, because when you travel and you want to bring something home to remember your trip by, it is so easy for us to fall into the little tchotchkes, train of thought.
Yeah.
Because that's what's so readily available, depending on where you go. A magnet or a postcard or a little figurine or something, and which is great. Like, they're beautiful pieces of art, but oftentimes they just sit on a shelf and they gather dust. But by purchasing something that you're going to use, like, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, I was at a field school in Italy, and one of my classmates bought a garlic press. That was her thing, that she was like, I want to get, like, some really high quality, because she loves to cook.
Yeah.
She's like, I really want to get some high quality kitchen tools, and why not get them here? And so she bought this, like, super fancy garlic press and a couple of other things I can't quite remember, and I think some little espresso cups as well. And, like, the joy on her face when she was purchasing them, and
she's going to use them.
Her souvenir garlic press.
Right? I mean, for me, it would definitely be yarn, but I just love the idea of when you go someplace, you bring something back
that you can use.
You can use regularly.
Yeah.
Right? And then every time you pick it up, you're reminded of that fun trip that you went on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've really gotten into, like, I can't say I've really gotten it, because I've only done it a handful of times. But the last few times I've been traveling, I try to find a yarn store or a craft store and bring back with me a skein of yarn or two. Number one, because I want to show my support for local craft. Like, the one that I bought here is 100% local.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I wanted to buy something that was created in the place that I was visiting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also when I come back, I just by having those and working them into a project, I can remember the good times that I had there, and I can wear my souvenir once I finish
and it accumulates more value for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get to enjoy it 3 times, right? Mm-hmm. When you buy it, when you use it, and when you wear it. So,
exactly. That just seems like a good idea.
Yeah, so we should probably go for the Knitspiration.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a good time for coming up to our... Now we've decided it's a tradition to work on some Knitspiration for you.
And for the record, it doesn't have to be just Knitspiration. It can be all making inspiration, but we're predominantly knitters, which is why we use the term Knitspiration.
Yeah.
So, Knitspiration!
I love that graphic and nudging. It's so adorable. So cute. We're getting better at this. We're doing it.
Allie, what's inspiring you this week?
So when we first sat down just over an hour ago, I was struggling to think of something that was knit-spiring me this week, because I have a huge book hangover and I just have not been knitting a lot, because I just recently finished the Throne of Glass series, and that's been taking up my whole personal identity and time for the last few weeks.
That'll suck the air out of you.
Anyway, however, as we were sitting here, my brain tends to go in multiple directions at one time. I'm really good at compartmentalizing, and I was in the background just kind of ruminating, and I realized I actually do have something that was knit-spiring me.
Ooh!
So I think I've spoken of before that I work in Heritage, and by I know I have spoken of. One of my coworkers is going to be conserving a piece of what we believe to be is knitted fabric. This is going to be a long-term project that she's working on, and...
Wait. Knitted fabric that was found
in a shipwreck.
In a shipwreck?
Yes.
Underwater?
Yes.
At the bottom of the ocean?
Yes.
And it survived?
Yes.
Are you kidding me right now? That's the most exciting thing I've ever heard.
So, this piece of knitted fabric, it's only just like in the beginning processes. So I don't know too much about how my coworker's going to go through it. I'm very excited to watch it unfold, both figuratively and actually as she takes it out of the concretion that it's in. But we were chatting about it earlier in this week, and I thought, I really want, when she's done, to recreate it. Because it's obviously incomplete. There's probably holes in it. It's probably ripped. I mean, it's been underwater for over 150 years. It's not going to be a full... I don't know if it's a garment. I don't know if it's a scarf. We don't know what it is. We just know that it's like a knitted fabric. We can see enough of it to know that it is like a knitted wool fabric. So I really want to recreate that, which has gotten me thinking, how cool would it be to do what is the equivalent of experimental archaeology and recreate these historic fragments of textile, of knit, of whatever it is that's been found in archaeological digs around the world. Like, how cool would it be to recreate that? And some people have.
Yeah.
That has been done. That is very commonly done in experimental archaeology. But I've just been thinking, that's what I want to do with this particular piece that my coworker's working on.
That is so
that
exciting.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Because
I can see how you're inspired by that.
Yeah.
So it's just got me thinking more about, like, historical traditions on how things are made, what materials are used, plant-based dyes, because this would have been in the 18th century that the thing was created. So it's just got me ruminating on, like, the historical side of knitting. So that's my Knitspiration today, is historical artifacts, historical knitting, and how we can rebuild that up in the future, in the present time.
I love it.
I'm so excited. It's going to be months before we even have a general idea of, like, size and shape and color and etc. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I can't wait. It's gonna be so cool. Yeah, she really wants me to as well, and I'm like, you don't understand. I'm so.
She doesn't knit?
No, she doesn't.
Oh, that's a collab made for the heavens. I've got like maybe 4 or 5 things that are currently inspiring me, but I've chosen just the one to mention today.
Okay.
And that is that I recently finished watching the TV series adaptation of the book A Gentleman in Moscow. Starring Ewan McGregor and our very own Mary Elizabeth, what's her face? I don't remember her last, but she was Ramona Flowers. And she's all grown up, and she looks hot AF. Anyway, this TV adaptation did a really good job at sort of like capturing the vibe of the inside of the setting. This is set in a hotel in Moscow, of course. And the vibes were just immaculate. So if you've not read the book, give the show a chance, or, read the book first. I do recommend that.
More tales.
But the main character, Ewan McGregor's Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov, wears a series of increasingly beautiful and complicated knits throughout this show. So he starts with a very humble vest in stockinette. Then we see him again in a sweater that has some like seed stitch. You can see that I paused. And I paused.
Screenshots were taken.
Yeah, seed stitch sweater. Then we see him in cables. Then in like lace cable. Then a little bit of color work. Oh my god. It's just like, as time goes by, you can see that he's putting more effort. Or like the showrunners are putting more effort to show the passing of time by the different knitted patterns that he's wearing over his regular clothes. This is a man that spent 30 years in a hotel wearing the same garments.
Yeah, house arrest.
In house arrest. But he would be changing up his basic button-up white shirt and trousers by wearing this sweaters and vests over it. I guess it would be called more of a it's not a
like a pullover.
Yeah, but it's like a cardigan with no sleeves.
Yeah, it's a vest.
Yeah, a vest. Yeah.
What we call a vest in North America.
What we call a vest, I guess in Europe it would be called something else. A waistcoat.
Yes,
perhaps.
there you go.
But anyway, I was so delighted by seeing these knits pop up in the show and being able to identify what stitch and what like shape they were using to represent the passing of time, and I loved it. I want to make each and every one of them. Probably won't, but I love them.
It'd be cool to see if in the future somebody does design replicas and they go up.
Well, somebody did design this because they looked positively handmade.
Well, no, yeah, but like if the patterns are published.
Oh,
I see.
A version of the pattern somebody created. And
Yeah,
published.
exactly. Yeah.
Like
How
with
about you, Carine?
Outlander. So.
Well, for me, it's not so much a TV show or something as cool as that, but I've been getting a lot of on my feed, a lot of Rose Hill yarns. And I'm just like kind of like dying, so I don't know if you can see the colors of this. This might be a little too
close.
like, so this is their campfire series,
my word.
and I'm kind of like obsessed with it. It's called Camp Life, and I just like went down a rabbit hole because the colors, like, look at this one.
It's crazy.
Lemon, like, so for me it's not so much like, it's right now this is what's inspiring me, and it's just the colors that Rose Hill Yarns has. And I know they're probably not gonna be a twist, but I might just like,
Well, we don't know.
Aren't they based in Alberta?
I think so. I know they're
Scroll up a bit. Yeah, so this is another Canadian dyer based in Alberta.
I might be
They'll be
passing in order.
They'll be at Knit City, Calgary this weekend, so they probably will not be at Twist next weekend.
But please, like, if you're at Knit City, Calgary, buy from them, because I want to live vicariously through you, because those colors are
and then post a picture and tag us.
Yeah,
their
those
colors
pictures are so freaking
incroyable.
Like, I can't, like, everything. I want everything.
I
All of
remember
it.
having a mini meltdown at the Rose Hill Yarn stand at Knit City.
I did. I had
Montreal,
one.
because it was just so much that I wanted and so little that I could buy that I just ended up not being able to make that decision, because I was like,
that's actually what happened this year for me. So I did buy something, but like it took me, I had to come back the second day. Because the first day I was like, I want this and I want that, and I was like, okay, I gotta put things down.
Yeah.
And
they do a really
Yeah.
good job at color combinations. Their sock sets,
oh my God,
where they have like one variegated and one solid mini, are so perfectly paired.
This is one thing I really appreciate about them as dyers, is that every single variegated that they will have in their stall has a coordinating tonal available in their stall at the same time. Now, you don't need to buy them together if you don't want to, but if you did want to have both together, you have options, right? It's not just like, oh, we have our core 6 colors of tonals, and then we have this random assortment of variegateds that don't necessarily match. Like, they might look good together, but they don't necessarily match. Like, I couldn't make a fully fleshed out project with them.
They really have a big
they
family
have,
like,
of colors.
It's like you go in there and like we said, like you get overwhelmed by the color choices.
And the depth of color, it's just so rich,
I think it's
saturated.
One of my favorites for color purpose. It like, is it the softest I've ever felt? No, but the color just like, the colors blow my mind.
Turns on the little, like, the synapses tickles.
100%.
You know?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a whole good reason to be inspired this week.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do a lot of things.
I hope that we've also inspired you to continue working on your art. Whatever fiber art or craft that you are making, you are an artist, and so are we.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for catching in for this chatty vlog. We will see you again in 2 weeks. Probably reporting back from Twist with what I think is going to be another topical themed episode that will bring you,
and likely not live streamed because somebody is going on vacation.
I deserve it.
You do deserve it. Anyway, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Please survive the August heat if you are also experiencing a heat wave.
Because it's horrible.
Enjoy the rest of your summer break.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a good one.